Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another awesome and fun and exciting episode of the Brew City Lounge. I am your host, Brandon. You can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. Very, very, very excited to have you tuning in, whether you're on the live stream or checking out the show, wherever you get your podcasts. It's an absolute honor and privilege to be here with you talking about our favorite teams. Of course, I'm talking about, as always, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Milwaukee Brewers. Lots to talk about, per usual, as there is with all of our teams. There are some good things and there are some bad things. We'll kind of get into that and dive in to see what exactly those are. Bucks had a 5-game winning streak. That was snapped in San Antonio as the Bucks lose big time, actually, 146-125. So we'll dive into that, see exactly what's going on with that. Brewers snap a 5-game losing streak, bounce back and take 2 out of 3 games in Miami. That was a big turnaround. There was a lot of struggling going on prior to that, offensively and defensively. So it was good to see them get back onto a winning streak a little bit, so to speak, in Miami. Big series against St. Louis. And speaking of St. Louis, Adam, thanks for dropping in, brother. Do appreciate you. Adam drops a comment over on the YouTube channel. Check us out on YouTube as well. Appreciate you dropping a comment, Adam. Appreciate you being here. And kind of big news today that kind of fell together quietly throughout the afternoon is the Bucks and the Brewers organization, team officials in the city of Milwaukee did open up the stadium and arena capacity to 50%. Absolutely monumental news that doesn't really get a whole lot of coverage because we're still adjusting to the COVID era of sports, but that the Bucks and the Brewers do jump up from 25% previously as they were to 50%. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well, and what are the implications of having that be going forward. Again, per usual, as we dive into all of that, just again want to announce that the Brew City Lounge has partnered up with the folks over at Fanatics. Super excited to be working with them. The best gear, the hottest gear, the latest apparel, draft stuff, Major League Baseball stuff, college basketball, everything, memorabilia, autographs. They got everything. Jump over on our Facebook page, on our Twitter page. The link is pinned at the top of the tweet. Please drop a click on that. Go shopping, save some money. If you use code 64SHIP right now, it's free shipping for orders over $64. So that's really fun to use. But as I started off with the intro, I did talk about the Milwaukee Bucks taking a hard loss, so we are going to dive right into the Milwaukee Bucks. And guys, check it out. There is no special guest tonight. I am your special guest. I know that's why you all tuned in. So we're going to get right into it. The Bucks drop a game in San Antonio last night. Their overall record 43-25. I still don't know what to make of this team. I'm still trying to figure them out. They did previously, like I said in the intro, won 5 straight games. I mean, it's hard to figure out anybody in the NBA right now, if we're being totally honest. There's a lot of people that are sitting out. There's a lot of guys that, whether they're injured or resting, whatever you want to call it. So it's hard to kind of figure out exactly where this Bucks team is going forward. But they do lose big time. Like I said in the intro, 146-125. Listen, this is the NBA, and these kind of games are going to happen. Unfortunately, that as a fan, we want every game. We want to win every game. And I think for the most part, as a Milwaukee Bucks fan in the last, I would say 3 years, for the most part, we've had games and seasons that we expect to win every game. So it's okay to drop a game. You hate to drop a game right now because you're only 5 games done to go to the rest of the season. You're a full game behind Brooklyn in the 2 seed. And like I said previously on other shows, I think seeding is important this year. Now, I don't know about you guys. And again, if you got, thoughts and reactions to what I'm saying, please drop a comment, whether you're on the YouTube channel, on Facebook, on Twitter. Drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. But this is just my take. I think seeding is important. I think that going forward in the playoffs, now again, the Bucks currently sit as the 3 seed. They are a full game out of that number 2 seed. Philly is in the 1. Philly is all but pretty much locked up that number 1 seed. I do not think that the Bucks are going to be able to get anywhere near that 1 seed. The same goes for Brooklyn. So it's basically a fight for the 2 seed over Brooklyn and Milwaukee right now, obviously, Milwaukee holds the tiebreaker with Brooklyn. So if they can get to that spot, win a game here and hope for some help, the Nets are, I believe, I could check real quick, but I do believe the Nets are at Chicago today. So we'll dive into that. The Bucks are also playing tonight against Orlando. So it's a game that you think, okay, Orlando comes to town, kind of a team on the outskirts. Let's see. It's a team that they should probably beat pretty good. I mean, you're talking about Orlando being one of the worst teams in the league. So we'll look into that game as well and kind of break down that a little bit going forward. I did want to talk about the Bucks as a team, though, as far as defensive going. And I wasn't too upset overall as far as their defense goes. Now, we watch these games and we always see, that the Bucks defense kind of, corner threes, wide open threes. And they're making changes. They're switching on defense a lot more than they have been. They're adjusting a little bit more on defense. Mike Budenholzer historically really hasn't made a whole lot of changes. This year, it seems like he's making a little bit of changes. Kendall drops a comment on the YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. They needed that win last night because the number 2 seed, I think, is where they need to start the playoffs at. I totally agree. I'm totally agreeant with that. I think that the number 2 seed is extremely important this year. Maybe not so in years past. But the Eastern Conference is deeper than it normally has been. It's a deep conference this year. You're talking 1 through 6, maybe 1 through 7 are very good teams. And the Bucks have had their struggles against those teams, especially in the back end of the Eastern Conference, like the Heat and Boston. Obviously, they have beat Boston the last few years, so you would think that there no difference would be this year, but you never know. A big news out of Boston as well: Jaylen Brown out for the year. Hey, look, I don't like Boston. I can't stand Boston. You never want to see injuries, so that sucks. Hopefully he comes back, next year healthy and ready to go. But you never want to see injuries. I don't like the Celtics just as much as anybody that's a Milwaukee Bucks fan, but we hope for the best out of Jaylen Brown going into next year. Back to the Bucks defense. Kind of broke it down a little bit today. I was really curious to see exactly where they sat, league wide as far as defense, as team defense. So I did a little bit digging. Now, I figured that they were probably pretty bad in the 3-point, percentage, probably the field goal percentage. Defensively and offensively rebounds, they got Giannis. Brook Lopez doesn't rebound the ball a whole lot, but they're pretty, I thought with my blind eye that they would be pretty good defensively. So I did a little bit of research. They are last in the NBA right now in 3-pointing allowed. They are almost dead last in 3-point percentage. Now, going forward, we've seen how the playoffs work, and we're going to break into a fun segment. Maybe it's fun. It's probably not fun. At the end of the show, the curse of Milwaukee sports. Is it real? Is it not real? Is it something that we just cry over? But we're going to break into it. We've seen, because of bringing up the curse, we've seen teams in the playoffs, about 2018, 2019, the Fred VanVleet's just light on fire. Every shot that they take is dropping in. So we've seen what 3-point shooting in the NBA, especially in the playoffs, can do. So you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, dead last in 3-pointers allowed. Now, why is that? Well, the game of the NBA has changed. It's transitioned more to a 3-point, shootout, so to speak, I guess. They've never had more 3-point attempts in the NBA, in the history of the NBA, until this current stretch of the last few years. You could probably thank Steph Curry for that. But needless to say, the Bucks' 3-point defense sucks. It's terrible. And last night was no different. It's been the same thing anytime the Milwaukee Bucks lose. And I could be wrong, and I probably am wrong. Maybe this is an overreaction. But from what I remember, a big portion of the Bucks losing games in the last probably 2 or 3 years, especially, you find it, you go against a team, maybe it's an underperforming team, and they just light on fire. Every shot that they take, every shot it goes in. It feels like every bounce goes their way. Last night kind of felt like that. Obviously, the Bucks are better than the San Antonio Spurs. Credit to Greg Popovich with the turn. Obviously they've lost a lot of pieces out in San Antonio, but overall, the Bucks are a better team than San Antonio. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. With that being said, the Bucks allowed 58% three-point percentage last night. 58. Now, some of that is, yes, guys are hitting shots. It's the NBA. They're going to hit shots. A lot of it is wide open looks. They're still trying to figure out when they switch on defense. You can still see that they're in the learning phase of playing switching defense. Yeah, you can just tell. They're very stubborn with how they play defense. And I think that's just a staple of Mike Budenholzer. And I think that's not that I've been calling for his job, but I've been thinking, if he's not willing to make changes and do something different, what's it going to take? How did the Miami Heat beat us last year? How did Toronto beat the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals in 2019? Resilient to change. Those teams are resilient. I mean, Miami was a very good team. They were built for the bubble. But you had a 2-game up on Toronto in 2019. Play defense. Play defense. It's going to kill you in the future if you're allowing guys or teams to shoot 58%. Anything around that more from three-point range is going to kill you. And Adam drops a comment, 58% from the opponent 3-ball game will not win you ball games. Agree. I completely agree. I mean, it's absolutely sickening to watch. And when you're playing against the Milwaukee Bucks, and as a Bucks fan, we know going into a game usually how we're going to lose, if we're going to lose. There's some games where there's an anomaly and some guys just go off and have a great night. Kevin Porter Jr. out of Houston a couple nights dropped 50 points. That's not going to happen every night. And we get that. We understand that. But we do know that if a team is going to lose, if a team is going to beat the Milwaukee Bucks and the Bucks are going to lose, we usually know that they're probably going to have a really good night shooting from 3-point range. And last night, again, was no difference. The Spurs were just on fire from start to finish. I think in the first half, they were shooting almost 70% from 3-point range. Speaking of first halves last night, here's a stat for you for defense. The Bucks gave the most points, allowed the most points in the first half since 1968. 87 points last night. I was texting with a friend last night, and I wrote to him. I just wrote LOL. I don't like, what else are you supposed to say? I mean, 87 points in the first half. You're never going to be able to justify that. I don't care if you score 80 yourself. Where's the defense? And maybe I'm a little bit old school NBA. Maybe it's just the mentality I have, like, we're not going to outscore you. No, we're going to stop you from scoring. We're going to make you play a little bit of offense and make you get into your half court sets, make you earn those points. I mean, the Bucks they're letting guys come down. The corner 3 is wide open. I said it on a couple shows ago. You got one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA outside of Steph Curry, Bogdan Bogdanović. He caught the ball and had like 3 seconds. He didn't know what to do with himself. He was that wide open. I mean, I'm not necessarily sitting here blaming anybody. I think it's a team effort. It's as a whole. Like, Mike Budenholzer's got to adjust. He's got to see what's happening. You see, defensive flaws happening throughout the course of the first quarter, getting into the second quarter. Okay, make adjustments at halftime. They come out in the third quarter, and it's the same thing. Now, guys are going to get theirs. Guys are going to get theirs. Patty Mills, how many 3-pointers did he have last night? I stopped counting after like 6. Kendall drops in a comment. I don't think you can blame the coach on those losses. It's the players not playing good defense or hustling like they should. 100% agree. But the only thing I will fight against that is that players play, coaches coach. I mean, that's something that we can all agree on. If the players aren't playing to their ability or their capability, or they're not hustling, you as a coach, you would think, okay, let's make a change here. This is what's going to happen. This is worrisome going forward for me, because as a Bucks fan, as the new NBA has transitioned over to shoot the lights out or lose, because that's really what it comes down to. If you're not hitting your threes, most of these teams aren't going to be competitive in a game with you. So what's it going forward for you? As a Bucks fan, you're sitting at home. Again, hop on the YouTube channel, hop on Facebook, hop on Twitter, follow us on all those at Brew City Lounge, at Brew City Pod. As a Bucks fan, you're sitting there watching a game last night, or maybe you're a couple nights ago. What is your concern going forward? What are you worried about as a Bucks fan? As a Milwaukee fan, we're always worried about that other shoe to fall. As soon as it falls, we're waiting for it. You could even say as a Packer fan, as a fan of Wisconsin, we're waiting for the shoe to drop, for the bad news to come. As a Bucks fan, I'm worried about their defense. Plain and simple. Adam drops a comment. Adam, thank you so much for jumping on the live feed out on YouTube. Greatly appreciate your support, man. I really do. He drops in a comment, says you can have the best offense, but you need a defense to complement that offense. Thank you, Adam, because that's exactly what I'm thinking. That's exactly what historically great teams have. Yes, you're going to have games where you get blown out. Yes, you're going to have games where guys like Steph Curry or KD, Kyrie, James Harden, LeBron James, they're going to go off. They're going to get theirs. The NBA is directed towards stars to get their points. We can see it when how the referees, how officials officiate games. The game has switched over to scoring. We get that. The only thing that I'm saying is you cannot allow teams to beat you consistently that the way teams beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Every time we watch a Bucks game, barring a bad call at the end of a game like they did in Phoenix the other day, an anomaly like Kevin Porter Jr. dropping 50 points, which is funny because he called out Drew Holiday and then the Bucks came back into town a few days later and all of a sudden he was out. I thought that was pretty funny, but everybody knows I love Drew Holiday. But teams now know how to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, Miami Heat players were quoted last year at the end of that series. Like, they couldn't believe they prepped to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. They schemed on how to get guys open. And when it got into game one and the game two, they were like, dude, these guys are giving us these shots. Like, we schemed a play, a game plan to get open shots, and Milwaukee is just letting us have it. And I'm not sure how that going forward this year is going to be any different than it has been. You would like to think it's going to. You would like to think Coach Bud has seen the way he's lost the last few years. Now, 2018, 2019, the loss against Toronto, and we're going to get into it because, like I mentioned it before, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you jump on this live feed. I don't care if you tweet me. Again, you can tweet at me at Wisco_Brandon. The Milwaukee sports is cursed. Like, it's just absolutely cursed. Fred VanVleet couldn't hit the ocean standing in front of it. Goes in to play the Milwaukee Bucks, and all of a sudden he's the hottest shooter in playoff history. So we're going to get into that later. But teams know how to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Consistently, they know how to beat them. They know if they go into the game, they're going to have open corner shots in the three-point range. They're going to have the defense is going to be behind. I mean, you can watch the Bucks defense, and credit to Mike Budenholzer because he's trying. He's going out of his way, maybe not out of his way. Maybe that's the wrong phrase, but he is attempting to make a change. He is attempting to do something maybe different. Instead of playing the man-to-man defense and not switching and allowing that pick and roll and not allowing that shooter to go off. I mean, he's changing a little bit, so you can give him a little bit of credit. But you can tell that they're in the learning phase still with this defense. They're still figuring out what exactly and how exactly to stop opposing teams and their shooting. I mean, the Bucks defense, like I said prior, and if you're just hopping onto the show, I see a lot of you guys dropping in on Twitter and on YouTube. Appreciate it. We're just breaking down the Bucks defense right now. Bucks lose big time, 146-125, just absolutely get manhandled from start to finish, really. I mean, they kind of chipped away in that third quarter, but for the most part, it was pretty much a beatdown for the most part. And Showtime AJ drops a comment. He's on Twitter at Showtime AJ. Thanks, man. I appreciate you dropping on. He says, I think the Spurs just shot very well. And he's right. They did. And like I said earlier, like, you're going to have those nights, and it's okay. Like, you're going to have nights where other teams are just really good. Like, it's just going to happen. It's just going to be their night. And that's okay. But consistently for the last, I would say, 3 years, as a Bucks fan, as a guy that watches them pretty religiously, the way they lose is pretty consistent. So that tells me that's an indicator. That's a red flag for me. Going forward, that's a big red flag. You see them consistently losing in the same form or fashion, it kind of gives you a red flag. Teams shoot very well against the Milwaukee Bucks. And that's a concern. So to reset the topic, before we switch lanes here, the topic was, as a Bucks fan, maybe not even as a Bucks fan, as a fan of the NBA, going forward, what's your concern with this Bucks team when you watch them? Because to me, again, it sets it back. Defense, team defense. You're last in the NBA in three-pointers allowed. You're 27th place in the NBA in opponents' three-point percentage. So you're 24th in the NBA in field goals allowed. My buddy Jake drops a comment. Somebody has to beat the Bucks 4 out of 7 times. Nobody but Brooklyn is going to do that, in his opinion. I don't disagree. I still think this Bucks team is probably the team coming out of the East. Now, it's homer of me. That's okay. It's my show. I'll say what I want. But going forward, like, okay, I got a question for you, Jake. You see the Milwaukee Bucks going up against Brooklyn. You say they got to beat you 4 out of 7 times, and you're probably right. It's going to be hard to do. But could it be the other way around as well? Is it going to be hard for this Milwaukee Bucks team to stop a team with KD, Kyrie, James Harden when he gets healthy, shooting the way that they can shoot, scoring the way they can shoot? When you look at the stats on the Milwaukee Bucks, and they're dead last in the NBA. Dead last in the NBA in three-point defense. And I know this team's focused on the playoffs. And I know Giannis has said it. And everybody, I wouldn't say an argument, had a disagreement on Twitter last night. He said, I don't care what the seeding is. I've seen enough. I disagree. Seeding this year is different because you're talking about winning the first round. Okay. You're winning the first round if you can get through the first round. Again, we talked about that a couple shows ago. You're going up against the likes of maybe Atlanta, maybe the Knicks, who are really good this year. They're better. Julius Randle's playing out of his mind. Miami, lost to them last year. Boston, always tough. Jaylen Brown out obviously changes things. That's still a good first-round matchup. Those are damn good teams. You're talking about the first round. Okay, so this is what I mean. And I'm going back to Jake's comment, and I get it. And he's right. Giannis has said we're gearing up for the playoffs. We're working towards, something bigger. Okay, but you gotta. I get you, Giannis, and I love you to death, brother. But we gotta win in the playoffs. We can gear all we want, but I want to know, going forward as a Bucks fan, what are your concerns? Because you go up against seeding wise, you're talking about, okay, the first round, then you're talking about the second round. You're either, if you get the 3 seed, you're either at Brooklyn. If you get through that, then you're at Philly. Like at some point, seeding's got to matter. And he drops another comment. Nets will score, but they can't. But can they defend? That series will be 130 points a game. They will all be close. Totally agree. Absolutely agree. But does it have to be? Because here's a question I have for you. With the team with Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, you could throw Dante in there because defensively he's not bad. Oh, and if I told you the defensive player of the year and you're dead last in a lot of these categories, you're dead last in three-pointers allowed, you're almost dead last in opponent three-point percentage, and you're almost dead last in field goals allowed. You have some of the best defensive players in the NBA. Is that okay with you? That's what my question is. Going forward, does that concern you? As a team, defensively, you have some of the best defensive players in the NBA at their positions, and you're still struggling. You're in the third tier of allowing points per game. At some point, that's going to be a concern. At some point, that's going to be like, okay, that's a flag, because we know the Nets are going to score. Philly, I'm not worried about. Now, this might come back and bite me eventually. That's, for later. But Philly, I'm not too worried about. Brooklyn is my concern. And I know the Bucks just beat them twice within like 3 days or whatever it was. So that was awesome. But going forward, when you go up against the series, and we know how the officials, Jake, I know you're watching, man, and I appreciate your support. And this is when I refer to my buddy, it's usually this is the guy I'm referring to. We know how the officials are going to officiate a game versus Brooklyn and the Milwaukee Bucks. We know that. We know what's going to happen. Giannis is going to get fouled out. Yeah, KD, we know what's going to happen. Going forward, team defense is going to be vital against a team like Brooklyn. Maybe against the Lakers if the Lakers get there, or whoever in the West. You got to be able to play defense. Defense, in the saying, gets old. Defense wins championships. It really does. I mean, it does. Had the Bucks played better defense in 2018, 2019, they probably would have a championship by now. And the curse of Milwaukee would be broken. So that's all I'm saying. Going forward, as a Bucks fan, as a basketball fan, if you watch the Bucks, going forward, what's your concern with this team? Again, drop a comment. If you're on YouTube, drop a comment. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Brew City Pod. And Adam drops in a comment right before I'm about to change subjects, and he's going to get me all worked up already. Yes, Giannis will have 5 charges a game. And it's funny because Adam texted me the other night. He was watching the Bucks game. And Jake will appreciate this. Adam's not a Bucks fan. He watches basketball. He knows what he's watching, but he's not a Milwaukee Bucks fan. And he's watching the game and he's texting me because he knows I'm watching it, because I watch every game. And he goes, "That's not a charge." And I write back to him. I said, "I know, man." I said, "This is what we deal with all the time." I said, "This is what we deal with." As a Bucks fan, as a fan of Giannis, the NBA, the world is just mad that he decided to stay in Milwaukee. Not everything's a charge. And I tweeted at NBA officials that don't matter. They don't care. I'm just a lowly dude on Twitter arguing with myself, basically. But I wrote to him. I said, I wrote back to Adam. I said, "Bro, I know. This is what we deal with. This is what we deal with. This is, again, all this is funny because it leads to my topic at the end of the show. The curse of Milwaukee is absolutely real. And if you don't believe it, stay around for about 30 more minutes and I'll break it down for you, because it's absolutely real. So going forward, I'm worried about the Bucks. And it wasn't just last night. We got a couple minutes here and I'll wrap up this Bucks talk. I'm going forward, I'm not worried about them. And last night was the first game. And the Spurs blowing us out should never have happened. But again, it's the NBA. Guys are going to hit shots. It's going to happen. It's okay. The thing that worries me is the way that the Bucks lose. They consistently lose in the same form, same fashion. Guys who the world never heard about, all of a sudden they got 5 3-pointers at half. Kevin Porter Jr. drops 50 points. I don't know much about Kevin Porter Jr. I would probably bet a lot of money that he has not had 50 points before in his career until that night. So going forward, as a Bucks fan, as a fan of the NBA, their defense worries me. When you got guys at their positions who are probably and arguably the best players at their position. Brook Lopez is a top center defensively. Drew Holiday is the best two-way guard in the NBA. Giannis is the Defensive Player of the Year award winner last year. How are you this bad at defense? Who does it fall onto? I mean, you're in the bottom portion of points allowed per game. You're dead last again, like I said, in 3-pointers allowed and 3-point percentage. At some point, somebody's got to take the blame. At some point, something's going to have to give. And that's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about. If you guys are just tuning in, I do appreciate it. Again, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Brew City Pod, YouTube channel. Get to a few more of your guys' questions online. If you guys are tuning in, I appreciate it. Sean drops a comment. What round will the Bucks make it to? Sean, you already know my answer, man. Bucks are winning it. This is the year. I'm just worried. I'm a Milwaukee sports fan. I have 100 reasons to be worried. 100 reasons to be worried. But the Milwaukee Bucks, this is their year. You signed Giannis. Nobody thought you were going to be able to. He's locked up. Chris is locked up. Drew's locked up. Brook Lopez is locked up. You got your core. You got the right guys. I believe, taking the homer out of my heart, I grew up loving this team. I was raised to love this team by two wonderful, amazing parents, that this is my team. Take all that out of me, and I peel the onion back, and I layer by layer, I look at it. I believe, Sean, to answer your question, this is the Bucks year. Should have been in 2018, 2019. Last year was a fluke. Last year was a fluke because COVID, obviously, and you just stopped the season and, worked out in LeBron's favor, when you're 36 years old and you get 4 months off. So last year, I don't really necessarily hold against the Milwaukee Bucks. You wouldn't want to see them come out in the second round, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. So I believe this is their year, and I could be wrong, but I hope that I'm down on Wisconsin Avenue or State Street, wherever, and we're celebrating a parade because the city needs it. And I think that they are going to win the NBA Finals. That is my take. That is a super homer answer for you, and I know guys that are popping on are like, well, of course I'm going to say that. I mean, look around. Of course I'm going to say that, but I really do think that they have it. You would just like to see the defense tighten up a little bit. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in to the Brew City Lounge. Do not forget, we are brought to you by the folks over at One Call Technology. They are phenomenal. Adam and the boys out there are the best at customer service. Give them a call at 888-585-8850 for all your business telecom needs. They are phenomenal. You jump on over there, give them a call, be like, Brandon from Brew City Lounge sent me, man, and they will hook you up. I promise you that. That is my guaranteed on the box. If you got that reference from Tommy Boy, it was great line there. But moving on, we're going to move over to the Milwaukee Brewers, and Bucks had a 5-game winning streak that snapped because of their manhandling last night by the Spurs. Well, the Brewers had a 5-game losing streak going into the weekend, and they snapped that, beating the Miami Marlins. I think that's what they're called now. Miami Marlins, 2 games out of 3. It was just a huge series win. That it was looking a little grim there for the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, you're talking about a team that started out phenomenal, 17-11 going into their losing streak. And had you had told me the Milwaukee Brewers are going to be 17-11 and you're going to have 16, 17, 18 players on the IL. Yelich is going to be gone. Kane's going to be in and out. Colton Wong's going to be in and out. Your best pitcher's not going to be playing. I'd have probably laughed at you and said, okay, no. But the Brewers are sitting in second place right now with a record of 19-16. Absolute huge series coming up against the St. Louis Cardinals. And I don't say huge because, like, if they lose 2 out of 3 or get swept, the season's over. Like, no. But in my opinion, the way that this division's moving, the way that division's playing out, the Cubs are playing much better. And I said it earlier. I said it a couple shows ago, I believe, when I was talking to Dario Melendez. The Cubs team is too stacked to be that bad. And they're finally starting to kind of nudge in the right direction. So the Cubs are bouncing back. The Cardinals are going to be very good. It's going to be a very tight division. So what I say by this series is huge, I'm just implying that you want to have a good division record, heading into August and September and having that, going forward, having a decent, successful winning record in the division. So I would say that it's not, required that they, win the series. It's just a big series to, going in early in the season to kind of put your foot down and be like, yeah, hey, this is our division. Yeah, we're struggling, but we're going to bounce back. We're going to beat the Cardinals. And again, Cardinals are always tough. Goldschmidt always is very tough with the Milwaukee Brewers. Nolan Arenado, when he was in Colorado, he was extremely good against the Milwaukee Brewers, hitting over a career 300. So it's going to be a good series. It's going to be a tough series, and one that I think is important. And I don't think it's important, so to speak, that their season is on the line. But it's all about putting your foot in the division very early. What are you going to do early in the season when you are injured? And guys, if we want to, the Brewers have 100 reasons that they can say, hey, we suck right now. I mean, you guys, you got the former MVP on the IL. He's played one game since April 11th. Lorenzo Cain has been banged up. Colton Juan's been in and out. Corbin Burns is on the IL. Breaking news with Corbin Burns this afternoon. He's going to be getting the start Thursday. So you're starting to kind of see things head into the right direction, so to speak. I know the topic at the bottom of the screen says injuries mounting, because for a while there, it felt like every day you were dealing with some type of injury. For God's sakes, no offense to anybody on the Brewers roster, but you're down to your third or fourth string catcher. It was pretty rough. You got so many things going wrong, and there's so many reasons to blame. But Jake drops a comment, Hero forgot how to hit. Again, one that I missed prior. That's absolutely 100% true. A guy that came into the majors because of his hitting is now suddenly doesn't know how to hit. Okay. And you're still keeping your head above water. You're still second place in the division. You're still grinding out games. Look, I kind of broke down the Brewers and I kind of went, with the numbers. Now, I'm not like a huge analytics guy. I'm not a huge numbers guy. Obviously, they're important. Obviously, they count. They mean something, but I'm not like a huge guy. So, but I wanted to take a little bit of a look, and I wanted to see exactly what, obviously when you watch, you do an eye test with the Milwaukee Brewers, okay, offensively, they're struggling, but what is keeping them afloat? Because obviously to win it, games in Major League Baseball, it's kind of like the NBA. They want the scoring's high, the extra inning rule, the relief pitcher rule, minimum of 3 batters. And so you can tell that the MLB is trying to gear into, they're trying to hit more, the younger side of fans and have more offense. Oh, the pitching's been really good. Like to start the year, it was the best. At one point, I think prior to late April, it was the best in major leagues. It's kind of fallen a little bit. It's kind of caught back up with the rest of the league. But they're still at 4th in the Major League Baseball in earned runs. The offense is the problem right now. And as a Brewer fan, I kind of prefer that right now. Let me explain. Every year as a Brewers fan, for the last 10 years or so, since they've been pretty good, it's always been pitching. We've always been told we don't have that ace. We don't have that rotation. We don't have the back of the bullpen. Well, you could argue now, and again, I could be proven wrong. Numbers can prove me wrong. Analytics can prove anybody wrong. Arguably, the Brewers have the best pitching and bullpen pitching, in my opinion. Homer, sure, yes, but Williams and Hader, not even a comparison. They're the best. Hader just broke the Major League Baseball strikeouts with innings. He made history a couple nights ago. It's the best back-end bullpen in the major leagues. Now, starting rotation, with Corbin Burns coming back, Brandon Woodruff bringing the anchor, Freddie Peralta had a rough game against Miami game 1, but it was a bad first inning, and then he kind of fixed it, I guess, and went 5 innings. I think the bullpen and the starting pitching is the strength of this team, and obviously numbers support that. Their pitching is really good. It's really what kept them in a lot of these games, and quite frankly, how they've won a lot of these games. But you're talking about the offense that continues to struggle, averaging 3.83 runs a game. Now, again, We could pin this on a lot of different things. You could sit there and say, well, we don't have Yelich. Fair. That's a good point. Well, you lost your best hitter at one point, Omar Narvaez, to the IL with a hamstring injury. Well, he's coming back, so that's good news. Could argue, could put it on Keston Hiura. He's completely forgot how to hit. So there's a lot of things that you could pin it on and make excuses for, but this Brewer team has not. They've been resilient. They've won a lot of games, taken 3 out of 4 against the Los Angeles Dodgers, sweeping the Padres. Obviously you go into Philly. The Philly series, let me get into that real quick because that was probably some of the most frustrating baseball I've watched. Yeah, obviously, I've seen a lot of bad baseball as a Brewers fan, but every game, if I'm not mistaken, outside of the last game, it was a 4-game series, was the same. It started and ended the same way. You allow grand slam, you allow 4 or 5 runs in the first 2 or 3 innings, and that's it. And then you see the Brewers chip every game, chip in, chip a run here, get a run in here. And then the 8th and 9th inning comes and they have an opportunity to tie or take the lead, and they just can't hit. Their situational hitting is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And it is frustrating because the pitching is the best that it's been probably in the history of the Milwaukee Brewers as a whole. And now the hitting's not there. We've always had good hitting. Lately, Ryan Braun, Prince Fielder, Christian Yelich, Corey Hart, Bill Hall back in the day. We can go on and on. Like, the hitting's been pretty consistent as a Milwaukee Brewers fan. It's been pretty good. And now that's that's the knock on the team. So you would hope getting these guys back. And if you didn't catch the tweet today, Christian Yelich did take batting practice. So that's encouraging. Obviously he did last time and he played, and it was a back injury. And I had somebody tell me, well, they did an MRI on his back and he's okay. Well, they didn't find anything wrong, and he's missing another game. So I don't believe that he's okay. As a guy that unfortunately deals with back problems, when you have an MRI and nothing comes up and you're still dealing with these problems, that's not good. So I'm worried about Yelich going forward. Now it was encouraging, obviously, to see him, take batting practice and play. So you would hope going forward. I don't have the dates in front of me of when they put him back on the IL. I know it was before the Phillies series, but I'm not sure exactly. Maybe you see him maybe this weekend, which would be phenomenal because we're doing Brew City Lounge is doing a live pregame show from AmFam Field on Saturday. Quick little promo here. If you are at the game on Saturday, find us, hit us up on Twitter or Facebook, again, at Brew City Pod. I will gladly, COVID restrictions, obviously, interact with you guys out there. We are going to be doing a live show. It's going to be a lot of fun. The president of the Lounge Room Network, which we are presented by Juan, and vice president of the network of the Lounge Room Network, Rhino, also my co-host on Titletown Lounge. We're going to be out there. We're going to be interacting with fans. We're going to be doing a live show for about an hour prior to the game. So if you see us, you're in the area, drop by. Hey, we'd love to meet you and shake your hand or bump your elbow, whatever you prefer. But going forward with this Milwaukee Brewers, it's kind of like the Milwaukee Bucks. And what I mean by that is we don't know what this team is. I mean, Rock made a comment, Bill Schroeder, the Brewers' voice on Bally Sports Wisconsin, that first game that Yelich is back, and I'm sorry, I do remember he did play the first game in Philly, so he's been out for about a week, I think exactly a week. And he made a comment, the lineup, it was like Juan, Kane, Yelich, and he made a comment. He goes, "This is kind of what you envisioned at spring training and in the offseason, what this Milwaukee Brewers team would be." So what I say by the Milwaukee Brewers are kind of like the Milwaukee Bucks. They haven't really played together. They haven't really got to put the lineup consistently together. So going forward, we're not really sure what to expect out of this Milwaukee Brewers team. Now, Kendall drops in a comment, says some of the best pitching and a great bench. And that's exactly why that they have a winning record right now. And he's 100% right. And again, and I said it before, and I'll say it again, credit to David Stearns. Nobody envisioned that these guys, example, Kane, Yelich, Juan, Omar Narvaez, Castanheira, would obviously just disappear. Credit to David Stearns, because Kendall, you're exactly 100% right. And by the way, Kendall is my dad, so I'm just going to call him Dad. So if you guys are on the live feed, that's my dad. He's the best. We actually are going fishing tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. But back to the Brewers. David Stearns, depth. They nailed it in the offseason. A lot of these moves went under the wire. So it's credit to him, but also going forward, we just don't know what this Brewers team is yet. And as they sit at 19-16 as an overall record, again, starting a 3-game set with the Cardinals, and then they have the Braves over the weekend, you're going to get a good feeling real quick this week where they stand in the National League, because the Braves have kind of turned it around. They had a slow start. They're sitting at 500 right now, 17 games, with a 17-17 record. The Cardinals are ahead of the division. They're 7 games over 500. So you're going to get a good feel really fast how good and where you think and where we feel as Brewer fans where they're going to sit in the National League. Played the Cubs a bunch of times already early in the season. You won't see the Cubs till August. So this is a real good feel of a situation and where you're going to feel how either good or bad about the Milwaukee Brewers going forward. Kyle drops a comment, says it's a 162 game grind. They have a few downs over that stretch. You're spot on with the pitching. It's the greatest we've had. We'll get back to where we were earlier. Optimism, Kyle. You're the man. Thank you for your support. You're absolutely right. I think going forward, you hit a rough stretch. And again, that 5-game losing streak outside of that first game in Miami against the Philadelphia Phillies, you had every chance to win each one of those games. You could have easily have won every single one of those games. It comes down to situational hitting. It was terrible. Guys on first and third, 1 out, no run. Guys on leadoff double, nobody gets batted in. I mean, come on. So as a team, as a Brewer fan going forward, I don't really have a whole lot of concerns. Now, maybe that's being like on the other side, as a Milwaukee fan, now I'm optimistic. Going forward, I think that this team, the Milwaukee Brewers, is a damn good team. Probably the Cardinals are always tough. The Cubs are going to be tough. But so to speak in the division, I think they're the better team. I think they're the deeper team. I think the pitching is the best. Obviously, I said that. And I think the hitting will come around, especially if you get guys like Yelich. But hopefully you get guys back like Yelich. And Castanheira finds the hitting again. Adam drops a comment. Injuries will plague any team. Him being a Cardinals fan, we got a Cardinals fan on a live feed right now. We're about to play the Cardinals. Adam, I don't know if we can be friends this week, but I'll read your comment anyway. Injuries will plague any team. Me being a Cardinals fan, this is Adam speaking. I worry about the Brewers when healthy and also the Cubs because of the talent. Echoing exactly what I said. Cubs are way too talented to be, 500 right now. They'll figure it out. I think eventually the Cubs will be a team to reckon with. The Cardinals are always a team to reckon with. They're always a really good team. They're always going to be a really good team. So the division will be fun. Again, it's all about health. Like that for any season. You could talk any sport. You could sit there and say, if you guys are healthy, going forward, this is going to be a pretty good team. I feel like the Milwaukee Bucks, St. Louis Cardinals, and the Chicago Cubs are going to be right there at the end of the year. Maybe the Reds make a push. Who knows? But if you guys are on the live feed, please feel free to drop a comment. I will do my best to read all of them. Sometimes I skip one, maybe two. I apologize if I didn't read yours. Get on the live feed, drop a comment. I got about 20 more minutes on this show. I'm going to keep going. I could literally go on for like 2 hours. I just love talking sports. I love doing this. It's so much fun. I love when you guys interact. It gives me something to bump ideas to and make me feel like I'm not talking to myself. So I appreciate it. If you guys are not on the live feed and you're checking us out on Apple or Google or Spotify or Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts, all that is so much greatly appreciated. You guys have no idea how much that means to me. I absolutely love it. Back to the Brewers real quick, and then we're going to transition to my not so fun topic of the evening of the curse of the Milwaukee sports. Going forward, if you're a Brewers fan or maybe you're not a Brewers fan, Adam gave you his thoughts. He said when this Brewers team's healthy, they're pretty darn good. probably a team that he's going to worry about, is what he said. Going forward as a Brewers fan, what concerns do you have? Again, this is a concerning show, and that's okay, because both of these teams that we have in this city, as far as the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brewers, small market or not, they're damn good. They're up there with every other team. They just took 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers when they had 16 players on the IL. Going forward as a Brewers fan, as a baseball fan, what concerns do you have with the Milwaukee Brewers? Again, if you missed the intro to the show, news of the day out of Milwaukee. I am so happy to finally announce this. It feels like the world is finally coming back together. Milwaukee Brewers and the Milwaukee Bucks got the approval from city officials to jump the capacity to what they're allowing from 25% to 50%. Phenomenal. I didn't even talk about this with the Bucks. Come playoffs time, that 50% is going to be huge. You're going from 3,000 to 9,000. Brewers are going from 11,000 to a little over 20,000. Hey, we're making progress. We're making progress. That's all we can do right now. That's all we can do. It's all we can do. And it's awesome to see that. I'm going to be at the game Saturday. The Brewers are upping their obviously, like I said, their capacity to 50%. Starting Saturday, I will be there. If you guys are there, find me, send me a message. I will meet up with you on Saturday. I'm super stoked to get to that parking lot, tailgate with some of my family and some of my friends, and back to baseball. 50%. That's huge. And again, with the Bucks coming playoff, it's going to be huge. I mean, you're talking. I didn't even talk about this, and I feel like I'm going back and forth. But the Bucks having 50% is tied for the highest percentage allowed in the Eastern Conference right now with Philly. That's a big home court advantage. I mean, I didn't realize how many teams in the Eastern Conference Finals don't have. I mean, Oklahoma City doesn't even. I know they're not Eastern Conference, but they don't even allow fans in their stadium. I did not know that. I guess I never really looked at it to be concerned or thought it was a thing. But going from 25 to 50 in the city of Milwaukee is going to be huge for not just the Bucks or the Brewers, but for a nation as a whole, as a sports world, as it all sports are meant to be played with fans. So that's encouraging to see. Going forward real quick, what concerns you about the Brewers? We got about 3 minutes left on this topic. My dad drops a comment. If our star players can stay healthy, if they can't stay healthy, that scares them. Absolutely. And health is always going to scare anybody a fan of any team. Packers lose Aaron Rodgers, they're pretty much done. The Bucks lose Giannis, that's pretty much it. So going forward, if this team does get healthy, and it seems like they're kind of trending in that direction, again, I think that they're going to have a lot to play for all summer. And you just hope that they stay healthy, because I think the Brewers kind of went under the radar this offseason. Colton Wand didn't get much traction as far as a signing. That was a monster signing. That was a monster signing. That was exciting to see him come into Milwaukee. It kind of changes the whole dynamics of the infield. So going forward, yes, this Brewers team can stay healthy. This could be one of the better teams on paper. But again, we haven't seen this team play together out on the field. On paper, it's a pretty darn good team. A team that is going to be there come September, come October. And we're going to get a good taste of that this week. Again, Brewers open a 3-game set with St. Louis tonight. The first pitch, I believe, already happened. I believe it was 6:40. I could be mistaken. If somebody wants to drop a comment with a score update, if there is one, that would be appreciated, so I'm not scrambling looking for it. So going forward with the Milwaukee Brewers, again, what worries me, I think it's just getting healthy. Getting healthy. I guess if I had to pin it on somebody, I would say getting Keston Hiura, into the right frame of mind, whatever he's got going on mentally or whatever it is that he's got going on. You would hope that, going forward, you get the offense turned around. And I'm not asking for, averaging 7-8 runs a game. Hitting with players in scoring position. Getting a guy that leads off. Avi Garcia hits a double to lead off an inning. There's absolutely no reason he should not score. Put the ball in play. Do something offensively in situations. You're not going to always score guys with 3-run home runs and grand slams. It's going to take a little bit of small ball. Hit that ball in the outfield. At least make contact with the ball. if anything. So going forward, as far as the Milwaukee Brewers, I think just getting healthy, getting these guys back on the field. We don't even know what they look like as a whole. I don't know if they've even played together outside of opening day all together, multiple times, multiple games. So getting them healthy is going to be fun. And it's going to be a fun summer. And with AmFam Field opening up, I'm really good with AmFam Field. And now I just had a mix-up with Miller Park. That's okay. Opening up to 50%, you would hope that come middle of summer, maybe late summer, it gets into that 75, maybe 100% range, which would be phenomenal. We would be back in the stadiums, having a blast, cheering on our favorite teams. But I do want to end the show with a quick, we'll say 10-minute. Let's see if I can keep it to a 10-minute. And if you're tuning in on the YouTube channel or Twitter or Facebook, hey, drop a thumbs up, drop a comment. Love to see you guys interact. If you're a fan of Milwaukee sports, you will know what I'm about to say is 100% real. And if anybody that is a fan of Milwaukee sports and they disagree with me, I would love to see your reactions to what I'm about to say. And I want to get an interaction with you. I want to have some dialogue with you because I want to explain to you how I feel. The curse of the Milwaukee sports world. Now, a lot of people think that, yes, the Packers. We have the Packers, yes. We have 2 Super Bowls in 30 years. So Milwaukee kind of, I'm sorry, Green Bay doesn't necessarily, I wouldn't say count, but they're kind of on their own right now. When I'm talking about Milwaukee sports, I'm talking about the Milwaukee Bucks and the Milwaukee Brewers and the curse that just lives around them. And we're going to only go back. I'm going to go back really. I'm not going to keep this. This isn't going to be a long segment, but I do want to break into it a little bit because I believe it's real. And again, if you're on the live feed, if you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, on YouTube, let me know what you think. Even if you're just listening to the podcast, on Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast, follow me on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. I want your thoughts. Am I crazy? Because I really do believe that this city is cursed for whatever reason. We'll go back and we'll start a decade ago, 2001 Bucks team. Probably the best team basketball-wise in the city of Milwaukee, arguably in the last 20 years. 2018, 2019 Bucks were pretty darn good. And we'll get into that team as well. The 2001 Bucks team, you're going up against the Eastern Conference Finals, and you're going up against the Philadelphia 76ers, if I can talk. Obviously, you had the reigning MVP, Allen Iverson, Defensive Player of the Year. Dikembe Mutombo was there. And it's a pretty good series. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, each game. It comes down to game 6. Scott Williams gets suspended for an elbow to the face that any other game probably would have just been a flagrant 1 or 2, maybe, but no suspension. All of a sudden, now Scott Williams gets suspended for game 7. Throughout that series, Milwaukee was whistled for 12 technical fouls to Philadelphia's 3. Everybody knows the NBA, ESPN, NBA network, whatever they were called back then. Everybody knew that they wanted Allen Iverson versus Kobe Bryant. That series was rigged. A curse of the Milwaukee sports. Let's bounce up a few extra years to 2011. Milwaukee Brewers, NLCS. Braun and Fielder have the best careers, the best years of their careers. All of a sudden, David Freese, who? David frickin' Freese, who went on to be the NLCS MVP, batted 12 for 22 in the series. It's the first time the Brewers have ever won the NL Central. Best probably year that they've had as a team in a very long time, prior to 2018, I would argue. And you lose because of David Freese, who all of a sudden catches fire. I mean, come on. Jump up to 2014, the Milwaukee Brewers. They led the division 5 out of 6 months. 5 out of 6 months of the year. and all of a sudden have a tragic, dramatic, epic, whatever adjective you want to use, fall to the year in the last month of the season and just vanish. That just happens. I guarantee you, any other team in the major leagues winning their division 5 out of the 6 months wins that division or at least gets into the playoffs. The Milwaukee Brewers, nah. Nope. And let's talk about the 2018 Milwaukee Brewers. 96 wins. They get to the NLCS. It gets the 7 games. The Brewers won a pivotal game 6. Gets to the 7 games. Apparently in the whole series, Yelich just completely forgets how to bat. He bats at 179 in the series against the Dodgers. Just completely forgets. Keep in mind, he went on to win the MVP that year. Goes on to win the MVP. But in that NLCS, magically forgot how to bat. So now you're talking another case in which you feel like the Milwaukee Brewers were the better team, obviously had the home field advantage. And then you get into the 5th inning of that game 7. Brewers are down 1. 2-1. It was the bottom of the 5th, 2 outs. Yelich is up to bat and just hits a shot to the left center gap. I mean, just a shot. As soon as it went off the bat, you're like, this is dropping. Or this game's going to get tied. Yelich is going to probably at the minimum have a double, maybe a triple. Chris Taylor makes the most ridiculous catch in left field, going on the warning track to the wall and throws his arm behind his head to catch the ball. Like, come on. Are we serious? Are we serious? Like, and then you talk about the 2018-2019 Milwaukee Bucks. Best team in the NBA. Best team in the NBA. MVP again. Giannis goes on to win the MVP this year. You go up 2-0 against the Toronto Raptors. It's looking like a lock. You're going to the finals, baby. We're going to the finals, baby. Nope. Fred VanVleet, who doesn't know how to hit a shot, the whole postseason automatically touches the ball and hits everything that he touches. Boom, boom, boom. Just the most miraculous thing I've ever seen as a Milwaukee Bucks fan. I've seen a lot of heartache. I've seen a lot of downfalls. And you can't even tell me that is not cursed. Like, you can't sit there and be like, you're going up 2-0. In game 3, it went to overtime. Now the series switched over to Toronto, and obviously, being on the road, that game gets into overtime. That's a game that the Milwaukee Bucks could have easily won. And I'm going to tell you right now, they win that game in overtime, more than 90% chance they probably win that series. And in my opinion, go on to win against the Golden State Warriors, who lost Kevin Durant with an Achilles tear. I do believe, unfortunately, that this city is cursed. It's cursed. We have another great year last year. The Bucks, number 1 seed, just phenomenal. I mean, they just like clockwork, dominating teams. Number 1 seed locked up. Here comes March. You're thinking, all right, let's go. NBA playoffs are right around the corner. Oh, yeah, here's a pandemic. We're going to shut it down till, I don't know, whenever. What? What? Like, the Bucks had a rough 2018-2019 playoffs. They lose that game against Toronto, obviously, like I just stated a few minutes ago. And you start off, 2019-2020 season, and you're thinking, okay, now this is the year. Like, okay, we had a rough Eastern Conference Finals. We're going to be all right, though. We're going to learn something. We're going to figure something out. And you just dominate. You dominate November, December, January, February, March. And then all of a sudden COVID hits, and you're like, and then they start up the season 5 months later, and the Bucks get bounced in the second round. Like, you cannot tell me. Yeah, a few of these, maybe they're just, bad bounces that just don't go your way. It consistently feels like no matter what we do, no matter how good we are, it just doesn't fall in our favor. I mean, this city has not had a championship since the Milwaukee Bucks in 1971. The Brewers were there in 82. They didn't win. That's a curse. Everybody says the Cubs and the city of Chicago. The White Sox have been pretty good. The Cubs obviously won a title in 2016. The Bears won a Super Bowl in 1985. Obviously, football side, the Bears haven't won a title, but that city has had a taste of a championship in their city. We have not, and we're dying for it. And I'm hoping that this is the year. And I know everybody that's tuning in right now, I know you have the same feelings. As a Bucks fan, as a Brewer fan, I know you guys want that. And I cannot wait until the day that I'm doing a live podcast from a championship parade down in downtown Milwaukee. We can only hope. But for now, I do want to thank you guys, each and every one of you. Adam, Sean, Jake, my dad, you guys jumping out on the live feed, dropping your comments. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you are not on the live feed, again, if you're listening to the podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, your support is so much greatly appreciated. I could not do this without your guys' help. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I cannot say it enough. I'll say it every show until I'm blue in the face. You guys are just awesome. Your support is unmatched. Thank you to the folks out at One Call Technology. Adam and the boys, thank you for sponsoring this show. Thank you to Fanatics. Working with you guys has been so easy and so fun. And I can't appreciate your help and what you guys do for us. Again, jump on our Twitter and Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter at Brew City Pod. Follow us on Facebook at Brew City Lounge. Again, jump out there, be interactive. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Let me know what you feel going forward with this Milwaukee Bucks team and with this Brewers team. Please, again, do not forget to subscribe and download wherever you get your podcasts. I've said it again, and I'll say it more and more and more. Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, find us, search Brew City Lounge. You'll find me yelling at a microphone, being mad as a Milwaukee sports fan. But that's what we do. I greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. Catch me again on Friday. And this is a quick intro into Friday. Super, super, super cool guest lined up for Friday. I won't tell you now, but follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, again, at Brew City Pod. And I will probably tweet it out tomorrow on who the guest is going to be Friday. It's a pretty cool guest. So I'm excited about Friday's show. Again, that'll do it for today's show. Thank you guys so much. Let's go Bucks. Game against Orlando tonight. Let's go Brewers. Big series with the St. Louis Cardinals. Again, find me at AmFam Field on Saturday. If you are around, I will be doing a show from the parking lot at AmFam Field. I would love to interact with all of you guys. So that'll do it for today's show. Absolutely had a blast. Let's go Bucks. Let's go Brewers. Be safe out there, Milwaukee, and have a good night.